Hello everyone and welcome back. I just got done making a video about Britney Spears, and I've also talked about Tiger Woods in the past, very recently, about the whole idea of relapse. And I've talked to you about the fact that I sort of look at recovery from a behavioral health issue very similarly to remission from cancer, right? God forbid you or somebody in your family has some type of cancer. The goal is to get this person into remission. It's never cured, right? You get into remission and then you do the work that's necessary to stop it from coming back. And sometimes it does come back, and sometimes it comes back, roaring back. And so, recovery can be the same way, right? And in order to not only experience recovery, but be able to maintain it, requires continued work. Now, in the Britney Spears and Tiger Woods cases, I talked about, pills and alcohol. In this particular instance, this is a great article by a very, very brave, individual. And I'm going to put a link to this article in the description for the video. I'm 20. I've spent years struggling with the myth of being fixed of mental illness. Have you considered going back on Lexapro? My doctor asked casually, the word slightly tinny over the subpar cell connection to my UC Santa Barbara dorm. Not really, I replied, my voice hovering above a whisper. It was 9:15 a.m. and I was huddling in the corner of my small bathroom, the only place in the apartment where I could be guaranteed privacy if I kept the volume low. Except for what's happening with my hands, I haven't been very anxious. The problem started at the beginning of my second school year. I was sitting in my first poetry lecture of the quarter when I noticed my palms were sweating. As the minutes passed, the smooth plastic of the mechanical pencil in my hand became irritatingly slippery, and note-taking grew impossible without leaving moisture on the page. From that point onward, my hands were always sweaty. Partly due to embarrassment, but also because saying the problem out loud made it sound so small. But when I started skipping classes because I was afraid of participating in group activities, I knew something had to change. Which brought me to the bathroom phone call. I'll give Lexapro another try. I had stopped taking Lexapro several months earlier. Getting off had been a very big achievement for me. It was a sign that I was ready for college. Tangible proof that I'd finally beaten anxiety, as if mental illness was something you could complete as easily as a course requirement. I was diagnosed with general anxiety at age 11. My last major flare-up happened in the junior year of high school. A week-and-a-half long panic attack where I became convinced I couldn't breathe properly. For the first time in my life, I believed I was mentally ill. The call led to a psychiatrist who promptly prescribed Lexapro, a serotonin inhibitor used to treat depression and anxiety. Just like that, I had crossed the acceptable level of mental illness I'd so desperately clung to. After about 6 months, my symptoms dramatically improved. Instead of relinquishing this newfound stability, I immediately considered weaning myself off of Lexapro. Okay, so here's the bottom line. She weaned herself off, and obviously some of her symptoms came back. I'll let you read this for yourself. I'm sorry, I'm breaking it up into little pieces just so you can get the idea. But as we tell families when they call us, recovery is a journey. It's not a destination. You don't get somebody into recovery and say, oh, that's fine, they're good, right? And a big part of the recovery journey can be taking medications. Now, when somebody is in denial, which is not unusual for somebody with a behavioral health issue, They're like, well, I don't need meds. Or they start taking the medications, they feel good, and they're like, well, I'm fine now, I don't need them. They stop taking the medications, and what happens? Well, they go back to dealing with the issues that they were dealing with. And so a big part of what we're doing is getting families the authority to make sure that their loved one is med compliant, because med compliance can mean stability. And look, I've told you some of the options on the table when dealing with this issue is at some point the state will step in. And what I mean by that is either through the criminal system or the mental health system, Florida's Baker Act. And if your loved one gets Baker Acted and the facility says, deems it necessary, or sometimes not even necessary because maybe they just want to bill the insurance, they will forcibly medicate your loved one. They will place them on the ground, they will physically restrain them, and they will place a very large needle in their backside, and they will forcibly inject them. Okay, we don't want that happening. We really don't. We want the family having the authority, right, which is extraordinary from the court, so that if necessary, somebody can be taken to the hospital and medicated. And yes, it may include sticking a very large needle in their backside, but better the family makes it than the state. Some psychiatrist in some, horrible Baker Act facility who doesn't know your loved one from a hole in the wall and probably doesn't care, ordering a forced medication. And I know it sounds draconian, but sometimes we need to take, extraordinary levels of care of somebody, right? And get extraordinary authority so that you can do what's necessary to save your loved one. Because by saving your loved one, we save the family. So this individual, her name is Veronica Morris. I take my hat off to her, for being willing to share her story. She's incredibly brave. But this is something we see a lot of in the practice when families call us. Med compliance is really important. Congratulations to Veronica for being honest and being able to make the decision to continue with the medications, right? But sometimes that's not the case, right? Especially when someone's in very deep denial. In any event, I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are. Are you a family out there dealing with this issue? Let me know. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. If there's an issue going on in your family that I've not made a video about, let me know. Post in the comments. I will make you a video. Because if it's affecting your family, good chance it's affecting somebody else's family. And these videos are about giving you the information that you need so you can decide, do you want to even have a conversation with us? So please post. If you like this content, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want more of this content that I make for you every single day, please subscribe to the channel. And with that said, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.